Welcome back, everyone, to Fake Nerds Watch. Not just any Fake Nerds Watch, though, for Fake Nerds Watch for Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I am here today. I am Brandon J. McClure. I am here today with Sparkz Witty, who just left.
Cat, sorry, issues. Hi, my name's Ryan Oleopoulos, but we got Sparkz right here.
I'm also here. Ryan has to do this now when he's doing his. He's got to correct the way he does his arm cross
before you rock yourself.
So Sparkz Witty, Sparkz, you joined me on the last season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds for a few episodes. Ryan, you have not joined me on the Star Trek.
Whoa. I joined for most of the episodes, and the only time I was absent was when I wasn't invited.
Oh, it's certain.
I just want to be clear.
For the throat today.
Spock and Chapel, we're starting spicy.
Ryan, this is you've not joined me on the Fake Nerds Watch for Star Trek before. How would you think of the first season before we get into this?
Well, let me tell you, Brandon, because I finished it yesterday. It's great. It's fantastic. I like Star Trek. I like a lot of things, but I haven't the new fare of shows. I watched the first episode of Discovery like when it came out, and I was like, it's fine, and I just never gave it a shot. I didn't hear the best things. I hear it's great now, but Picard, I'll get to it eventually, but like I heard this show, it's like, yo man, you want that like just that real Star Trek, like like mission of the week, doing cool stuff, exploring strange new worlds. I'm like, that's exactly what I want. So I watched that show in like 3 days, and I'm glad I did so I could be here, because boy howdy, it feels good to be back. I'm a Next Generation guy. I love the Next Generation. Again, I'll get to Picard eventually, probably just season 3 if I'm being honest. But like it feels really good. This is a really good show. And like, I know you know this and like everyone knows this, but like, man, it feels really good to have like a really high budget, high quality, like great cast, great action, just like all around great show. Also, it's a Star Trek show. It's just like, it feels great. Like the core of Star Trek is there. It's wonderful. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here. Happy you both are here. So why don't we get right into it for the first episode of season 2 called The Broken Circle.
Yeah.
This is directed by Chris Fisher, who directed last season's Equality of Mercy, the final episode of the season.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Romulan episode. I watched that yesterday. It's a good episode.
Written by Akiva Goldsman and Henry Alonzo Myers. So what did we think of this first episode?
Sparkz, it was nice. Oh, sorry.
No, yeah, I thought it was great. I was happy to be back in the metaphorical saddle. I really like that the first episode is willing, like brave enough, to not have Pike at the center of it.
Yeah.
And I think that was a good way to follow up on like where we left with number 1 and him for the previous season. Like, we're gonna get to that, but he's got to take care of stuff, so here you go, here's everybody else. And it gave a nice like, let's spotlight everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Ryan?
Yeah, I didn't have as long as waited you guys. I had about like 16 hours for the new season for me to watch. So but it was also nice to be back. This was just a nice, great first episode. I feel like you could probably jump in, not that you should, but like any good Star Trek episode, like you could just watch an episode and get something great out of it, right? It shouldn't rely heavily on like continuity or anything, but like besides the stuff with like which they tell you in the previously on Star Trek, like besides like the I forget her name, but Rebecca Romaine and Christopher, like their stuff, like there's not really stuff you really need to know, because it's about a heist to steal the Enterprise, which is a really, really fun thing. And I always love a great stinger before the credits. It's like, we're going to steal the Enterprise. And it's like, like, that's great. It's great. I had a lot of fun.
I mostly agree with what you're saying. I think like there is a little bit of like heavy leaning on the Gorn and Lana's history with the Gorn. Like that's still present in the background. Not to the detriment of like, could you jump in here? Sure, you could.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with this episode. I'm happy to be back. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a great first episode of the season. It doesn't quite get me like, oh yeah, I cannot wait for the rest of this season. It doesn't quite get my blood pumping like the final episode of season 1 did. But it's still, I think, a solid episode. It's got some really great moments. And Yeah.
Can I
I
ask
was
real quick?
yeah.
Because I literally just like this might as well have just been episode 11 of season 1. How long is the gap from when
About
you
a
watched?
year.
It's been okay. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so it's been about a year, and in universe it's a couple of months.
Yeah.
Because they mentioned that they've been at space dock for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reference in the one of the things I really like about the show, and one of the things that I'm glad that to have you guys here is because you guys didn't watch Discovery, but this episode does build off of where we saw Pike and the Enterprise and Discovery, and it works, I think, well to kind of be like, hey, all you really need to know is there was a Klingon war. The Enterprise wasn't a part of it, but Amenga was.
Mhm.
And I'm happy to see, as someone who likes that season of Discovery quite a lot, and in that episode, in that season, there's a lot of talk about how Pike regrets the fact that he missed out on the war because Starfleet sent the Enterprise off just so that they wouldn't destroy, so that the Klingons wouldn't destroy the flagship of the Federation.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's weighing on Pike in season 2 of Star Trek Discovery. And we're kind of getting a bit of that on other characters now, like M'Benga and Chapel, of like, oh, what did we do during the war? And how did that affect us? And I'm happy that you don't need that Discovery background, but it also helps if you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely could feel like there's definitely like stuff I'm missing, but like I had enough context for me to be like, yeah, like, you know, I got enough.
I'm the same as you, just to be clear. Like when I watched, like I also have not watched Discovery.
Yeah.
So like this is the show I watch.
Yeah.
And like looking back at the first episode, I still think they did a great job of like, I got everything, all the information I needed about the stuff that happened in Discovery. I was never lost or anything.
Right.
I do like how we're doing people talking about like wartime when you've been in the midst of exploration as, you know, like the main thing going on this season. And it feels very prevalent, this desire to not be caught in that, like recognizing that you have the power to take Starfleet and go to war.
Yeah.
But should you?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I like that we're already like a first episode in of the season playing with that idea. And it kind of the implication being like either avoiding war or a big battle incoming is kind of on the horizon one way or another.
Yeah, it definitely leans that way. That like
and so what does that mean and that kind of thing. And I do just want to respond to what Brandon was saying earlier, because he was saying like didn't necessarily get him, this episode didn't necessarily get you as hyped for the season. And I'll say exactly why you're wrong, which is because this episode introduces Carol Kane, taking over as chief engineer, and that has me 1,000% excited about the season.
I forgot
because I did not know that she was going to start just being on the ship. I thought she was going to be like a one-off appearance.
For real, yeah.
I am really happy to hear you say that. She's kind of a divisive figure online. I fell in love with her immediately.
I love her already from other things.
Yes.
So like she was gonna win no matter what, because like anything she does, she's never wrong.
This goofy accent. It's like, oh, I should have recognized your accent. You're a Lanathite. I'm like, what's a Lanathite? Like nobody knows that.
Yeah, that was really interesting. The idea that they've introduced this species that the Federation is aware of that's lived for thousands of years. And it's not one that's ever been in canon before. This is it is a completely new species.
And for a chunk of time, secretly on Earth.
Yeah. Until the 22nd century.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm really curious about where she goes, about where this whole character. She's incredible. I love her scene when she's on the bridge. Her dialogue with Spock is incredible. I'm so in love with this character already.
Yeah.
Because you talked about like her being divisive. The Star Trek baby here, I gotta ask, has there always been like, there's never been any indication of like the advanced civilization that came to Earth, right? No. Like you know, like Earth kind of gets into the stars, starts becoming part of the Federation, and they're kind of the group that like goes and like not just Earth, but like all of Starfleet starts like, you know, going. So that didn't happen to Earth, right?
There was as far as public knowledge. Because there's a couple of episodes where there's one episode of Star Trek Enterprise where it's revealed that in sometime in the 21st century, 2 Vulcans had to live on Earth. And that's, I think, and my knowledge is not as extensive as others.
Sure.
That's the only time that we get that there have been aliens prior to first contact.
What I mean is like, Earth never got the experience of someone coming and like the way that Starfleet does.
No, true.
Like, hey, you're ready. You want to chase the stars? You want to explore space? You want to join the Federation? They don't get.
That is First Contact.
Zephyr Cochrane.
Because when Zephyr Cochrane broke the warp barrier, a Vulcan ship was in the area and landed on Earth and said, "Hey, we're going to guide you into the future."
Good job, you did it. Good job, humans.
So, like, I think it's just, I think the only reason why people would be divisive about the implications of Carol Kane's character is because, like, the idea that obviously there's a lot of other species that do pass for human.
Yeah.
Out in space, we've seen a lot of them. It's just silly hubris to think that they couldn't have visited Earth.
Yes.
Secretly sometime in advance.
There's also Guinan. So Guinan in Star Trek the original Star Trek The Next Generation is an El-Orian. She's Whoopi Goldberg's character. She is somewhere between 800 and 900 years old, I believe. El-Orians are really long lived, and they're a cool species. I really enjoy them. But Guinan specifically had been on Earth in the 1800s palling around with Samuel Clemens, aka Mark Twain. That's a whole episode that I really like called Time Zero. Sure. So, like, yes, there is precedent in Star Trek that a long-lived species had just secretly been on Earth for a while.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
No,
yeah. And that's why I like Carol Kane's character so much, because she feels so much like the opposite of Whoopi Goldberg's Guinan. Just kind of character. Guinan is this very reserved, very kind of sage-like character, and she and Carol Kane, Pelia, is just bored and wants adventure, and is just like, your ship seems exciting. I want to be on your ship.
Dude, I want a whole. I would love if there was just a whole episode dedicated to her just being on the ship exploring, because her whole thing of like pretending to be this person, or she actually is a Starfleet officer or whatever, but like she's like, oh, you're gonna steal this ship. I'm gonna help you because I'm also bad. I'm also bad. I want to do bad things. Like, I love that. Like, it's so cool. Like, I've been so bored. It's at the very end of the episode, but of like, what's the worst thing about my species? And he's like, oh, is it about losing your loved ones? Like, no, that's sappy. No, it's being so bored all the time. Like, that's awesome. That's a real answer.
Yeah.
And I love that.
And that's also a sweet answer, because she even says anyone with half a heart feels that same pain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm bored.
Yeah.
Right.
I hope I also thought she would have been a one-off. So I hope she is, at least in every episode, to a little extent.
I suspect she's gonna be like, even if she's not in every single episode, most of them.
Yeah.
If she is indeed taking over our chief
recurring guest
which
character,
I think is fantastic. I'm so thrilled about it. Yeah. I would love if they since you brought it up. Yes, I would love if they gave her a focus episode. You should know that, like, it's on Brandon and I's bingo cards. We are waiting for the Ortegas episode because we both particularly love Ortegas.
She's cool.
And cool. we want her to have her big center episode.
It is coming. Yeah. It is coming. Yeah. Okay, so so Carol Kane, excellent, wonderful character. I can't wait to see more of her. Let's talk about.
Why don't we talk about what the episode's about?
Yes. Like, so the episode. Enterprise gets a distress call from La'an on a contested planet just outside of Klingon space called Kajitar.
That's what I was going to say. Kajitar.
And
there's one Klingon month, can't go there.
Yeah, but it's on Klingon month, and they can't go there. And this is kind of like the ramifications of like the war. This planet was heavily contested during the war, and
they have joint custody on a mining operation.
Yeah, because dilithium is very dilithium. You need dilithiums to make your ships go. And April, the first captain of the Enterprise, welcome back, Admiral April, says to Spock, no, you can't go. But there's something that I immediately clicked to is that there's something, and Pike even says it in the opening monologue, like there's something wrong, but no one's sure what. The Admiralty is keeping it very close to the chest, but there is something wrong. And we learn later that it's because the Gorn are advancing on Federation space.
Right.
Like they don't got enough problems already.
Yeah. I like the idea of this planet that, like as part of making peace and war, okay, it's yours this time of the year. It's ours.
You get the kid on there for this weekend.
Yeah. Very like what you get in the divorce kind of situation. I will say, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but what I will say is that I kind of wish that they'd at least give an indication that it wasn't just bad acting Klingons, but bad acting humans too.
But we see them. We see them. We see Klingons and former Federation officers.
Oh, they do. No, yeah. Somebody did say it's like a conglomeration of different people come together.
Yeah.
That's right.
I hear you.
Yeah, no,
I feel like we didn't see the humans enough.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
I feel like we made that feel pretty one-sided.
That is 100% fair. I just do remember that conversation they do have about them, about that group. But that is
just
100%
like,
fair.
especially because like, and I hope it's something that's not just like in this episode thread. Like, if there are defecting Federation people, that should be explored.
Yes, they beat up a ton of Klingons. None of them seemed human.
Enough Federation people were able to take away enough tech to build a whole ship.
That was pretty.
A whole fake ship. That
dude, they had Palpatine on the line.
That does have to point out something. I think.
They had Palpatine on.
Yeah, they do say in a dialogue that the syndicate that currently controls Kajitar 4 is run by Klingon and former Federation officers, and that's but the fight sequences, and it seems pretty clearly like run by Klingons, and the humans are just kind of there.
Yes.
And when Nurse Chapel and Benga fight, they're only fighting Klingons. They're not fighting humans.
Right.
And man, they kick almost like too much ass, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like they're like, damn, Chapel, you got hands.
Yeah.
And then like round 3 happens, and I'm like, at least like they all look bloodied up, like they didn't come out unscathed. Like I appreciate
especially
that.
Chapel. Like after that last, I'll give you a minute, and she takes on like 4 dudes.
I love battle damage. I love battle damage.
Riggedy wrecked.
I don't want to get to the I don't want to get to the fight yet, because there's a lot there, the implications there that I want to dive into, as far as like the moral implications of what they did. But one of the things that I appreciate about this episode is that it's very reminiscent of the original series, in the sense that like in the original series, it's the Klingons and the Federation are in a Cold War, much like the Russians and the Americans were. That was the point, is that at any moment a all-out war can break out between the Federation and the Klingon, and Kirk is constantly walking in that line. And that's what this episode felt like one of those, like, we are currently in the Klingon Cold War, hostilities can erupt at any moment, and it's up to the Enterprise to stop that. And I appreciated that kind of callback to the original series, you know?
Yeah, because I'm sure it'll be something. I think that and the Gorn thing are probably going to be tied together at some point. There'll probably be more animosity with the Klingons throughout the season, and then a bunch of lizard men will show up and are like, "Well, we got to team up, bro." You see that 9th episode, that alien episode? Shit, they can do that now.
I'm so excited to see an adult Gorn, because we've only seen the infants at this point.
Man, back when they just used to be like dudes with like zippers, like now they're straight up just like xenomorphs. So I'm like, damn, that's an upgrade. That's awesome.
I keep picturing, like, in my mind, I know I'm basically picturing the lizard people from the Space Jumanji movie that I forget the name.
Zathura. That's a cool dude.
I keep picturing those things
Sure.
as the Gorn.
I always picture this is a horrible deep cut, but I always picture the Slee Stack from the Land of the Lost.
No, yeah. I get you.
Yeah. That's how I. Yeah, that's how I always picture the Gorn for some reason.
I really like Captain Spock.
I do too.
I want the ship to go.
He has the best catchphrase.
So okay, so I need this joke to die. I liked this. There's some fun stuff happening in the scene, like when Uhura does a great impersonation of Pike saying "hit it." And I love Mitchell saying, my last captain used to say zoom. I think that's pretty funny, but it is not fair to Strange New Worlds, because I'm sure they didn't know this was going to happen. But the last episode of Star Trek Picard ended on the exact same joke.
Oh, did it really? Oh.
Yeah. And the 1-2 punch of just that being the last episode and this being the first episode was kind of like, okay, I'm good now. I've had this. I'm ready to, like, let's maybe not keep calling attention to this catchphrase.
Speaking as a person who had no knowledge of that,
yes,
right.
I loved it in the trailer and I loved it in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ethan Peck is so good as Spock.
Yeah, man.
And his full delivery, like just the zoom in, the eyebrow and everything of, I want the ship to go.
And then the eyebrow raises.
Yeah.
Obviously I wasn't on last season, but like the episode where he switches with his wife and he has to pretend to be her, like, man, like he is like, this whole cast is really good.
Yes.
Like this is like, and also, oh my God, this is like the perfect example of what you do. And like, this is like, show Disney, this is what you do when you're casting characters again. Like, cause like in that show we have Kirk and we have Spock and we have Uhura and we have Pike and we have all these people and like, they're just recasted with great actors. And I'm like, nobody cares because it's acting. Nobody cares. And I was like, God, the show's so good.
Yes.
And
So
every member of the this show is filled with classic members of the original series. Mbenga, Chapel, Uhura, Spock, all came from the original series proper, and they're all excellently recast, and they're all so good. And one of the things that I really appreciated watching, because I started watching the Ready Room, which is the behind the scenes kind of featurettes for specific episodes. Well, Will Wheaton talks to a member of the cast, and Will Wheaton talked about how Jonathan Frakes said that the Strange New Worlds cast is the closest Star Trek has come to recreating what the cast on The Next Generation had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I 100% feel that, because everyone is bringing their A game. They all so close knit, and they clearly love each other.
chemistry.
They have such good chemistry. Some of them have far too much chemistry, which I love. And I'm so here for this cast of characters. Whenever I tune in, it's because primarily, bottom line, I know this cast is going to deliver.
Yeah,
right.
100%. Yeah.
I was gonna say for Ryan, like I think it would be worth your time because you like these kinds of things. There was like a 10-minute video, right? Like something like 10 minutes of the cast just talking about what it meant to be taking on these roles in the show and that kind of thing, like before it aired and all this stuff. And I remember watching it and being like, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Like even without a lot of affinity for like classic Star Trek and all that, I was like, yeah, y'all care. Y'all got some real vibes and stuff going. This is great. Yeah, the show sings based off of superb writing, high beautiful budget, and an incredible cast.
And you talk about Ethan Peck, and imagine getting Spock right, not just with Leonard Nimoy and Zachary Quinto, but getting it right another time with a third incredible actor to play him.
Yeah.
I just incredible. I love Ethan Peck as Spock so much. He is very much playing Spock in his rebellious phase.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so here for this because like we know Spock. We know what happens to Spock. Spock becomes this kind of logical Vulcan person, but I think breaking his emotional barriers in that episode, in the 9th episode of the last season, allows Ethan Peck to play with the idea of, okay, the Spock isn't fully cooked yet. He's rebellious. He's emotional. He doesn't know how to handle all these emotions, and that will lead him nicely to where we see Leonard Nimoy.
Right.
Yeah. All the stuff with him and Chapel, I adore. I think it's just so good. They're like, oh, that's like the OTP. That's the one true ship right there. And like, and then I learned there's like, they don't do anything with that in the original series. Not that they have to or anything, but I'm like, no, that would have been fun to like, if I ever wanted to watch that show, it would be there, but it's not.
Ryan, you have no idea how much I hate Spock and Chapel. How much I hate that I love them in this show. Because in the original show, in the original series, I mentioned before, Chapel is a horrible character in the original series.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I think she's terrible. Unfortunately, Majel Barrett gets saddled with the worst character on that show, for me anyway. Yeah. She's constantly this kind of lovesick, swooning over Spock, always like, oh, Mr. Spock, why don't you acknowledge me? Why don't you tell me you love me? Blah, blah, blah. It's awful. Yeah. It's such terrible writing.
It's so well done here, and it ends badly.
That's awful.
Yeah. And I'm so invested in the Spock and Chapel in this show where I'm like, why did you do this to me?
Yeah. Because they can't actually go anywhere, right? Because
I mean, I guess you could make it
so that they break up, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter.
Not to spoil, but we know that T'Pring and
Spock
are still.
Why? I did see that
There's still a couple in the original series.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, it feels like something where, right now his emotional barriers are down, he's loose, and he clearly has feelings for Chapel and
100%.
and like he's going to make the decision logically
Yeah.
to bottle all that back up and shut himself off. And when he shuts himself off, he totally shuts her out.
Yeah.
And she's not just seeing mixed signals. Like, they're
Yeah.
building something that kind of makes
It's
they're
gonna be
trying
really,
to make her lovesick, like bad 60s writing.
Sure.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
As why Spock would be like a wall that she's talking to.
Because he will that'd be dramatic and like really like, oh, like really good, like that.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be a point in the show where they're just going to, like, he's going to completely shut her out.
Yeah.
I do want to see Chapel continue. One of the things I'm a little worried about, because and I know I probably shouldn't be, because I do trust this show and I do trust these writers, is I don't want Chapel's entire arc to be centered around Spock.
Sure.
And I want to see Chapel kind of explore other relationships, because she is canonically bi, I believe, as of the last season.
Yes.
I don't remember what episode it is, but I remember it. Like, she does a glance at one character that's very like, oh, I think you're hot kind of look. And I'm like, oh, I see it, but they never do anything else ever again with it. And I'm like, oh, I guess there's just Spock now. Okay.
But I want to see that. Like, I want to see them explore Chapel outside of Spock. And so I hope that we get a chance to do so. And I know that kind of leaving the door open that in this first episode that she might leave the Enterprise for a couple of months could possibly give them the room to do that away from Spock. I hope that's kind of the case that we're going. I have no reason to worry. It's just kind of just something I want to see.
No, that's understandable, because like, as good as that stuff can be, you don't want an entire season just sitting around, oh, I love this guy and he won't be with me.
You want them to give her something else to do, like going off and doing the internship for 2 months on Vulcan.
Yeah. Oh shit. I forgot the internship was on Vulcan.
Yeah.
Let's see. Chapel, man. Yeah, man, I love this cast so much. But Spock,
so good.
I want to talk about
Australian. I saw an interview today. I was like, nobody's American. Good.
So Spock is given his Vulcan loot from Mbenga. Now that's something he had in the original series, and he actually had it in Discovery, but we're gonna ignore that. And he and I really like the explanation of, like, this will help you center yourself. This will kind of bring you back to logic. If you play this because you're stressed right now, it's very hard for you to center yourself. So play this, and it'll help you recenter. And it kind of gives a lot of meaning to that musical instrument and to Spock's logic. Fun fact about that, though, that the episode where we first see that is the reason why J.J. Abrams put Uhura and Spock together as a couple in the Star Trek 09 film.
Okay.
So just thought I'd throw that out there, because I think that's incredibly strange.
Strange.
They're very flirtatious in the episode. I kind of see it, but I'm like, that's weird, but okay.
Yeah. I feel you.
All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about the fight sequence.
Sure.
Yeah, let's talk about the fight sequence. So
I'll say real quick, I think this is the first stylistic choice I haven't agreed with in the show, and it's a bit too much slow motion. Not a ton, a bit. We did it a little bit too much.
Yeah, I do wonder. I do question the choice. I do wonder why they decided to do it that way. Because I think you could get away with it without it. I think the choreography is good. It's not like you're hiding the choreography through it.
I think it comes from like a very like late 80s, early 90s film style thing to do when you are in a war scene, right? The slow motion activates like when they're charging up and going into war, that kind of thing. And I think they're trying to evoke the same idea, like in this moment, Omega is back in the war.
Yeah.
Like regardless of the fact that they're not
a zoom in on him.
Yeah, I think that's the thing they're trying to capture. And I'm kind of with it for the first chunk of it. And then it goes a little too long.
Yeah, I think what it might actually be how just there's a lot of slow motion. I just think the scene lasts too long. Again, not that I don't want like action in my Star Trek or anything, but it's just like it was a very stylized, like this turned into like an action show all of a sudden. and I don't have a problem with that, but it was very like, man, and we're like on our third wave of dudes now. Like, this is an hour-long show. So.
Yeah, I do like the implication that M'Benga had developed this kind of steroid that allows him and Chapel to wipe the floor with Klingons.
Oh my god, yeah, they turn into Hulks.
Their
eyes dilate, like that's
Yeah.
like drugs.
I don't mind that per se. I think the sequence goes on a little too long, but what I'm more interested in is what it is it going to come back around? Because I don't think the Federation or Starfleet knows that M'Benga has this drug.
This definitely does not seem regulation.
Yeah, and because like the Starfleet and the Federation is very much against augmentation. That's why Una is in jail, and this would kind of be like, this is technically a drug that augments your strength, and I don't think the Federation would be okay with that. Even during wartime, I don't think they would be okay with this. Yeah. And I wonder who knows about this drug, and is the moral implications of having this drug going to come around? Because that's what I'm really interested in to see.
You know what? I have to imagine, because the theme seems to be about like war and stuff. So like, I have to imagine. I hope it comes back around.
Well, that and you got number one's like story kind of tied to like lying in Starfleet and how that tied into augmentation and that kind of stuff. So
that's true.
I think that like both things can kind of
all work together. Yeah.
But I do think it goes on a little too long, and because it's really silly that these two doctors, one of them 100 pounds soaking wet, is feeding up these Klingons, and the longer it goes on, the more you start to question, like, oh, why is this still?
That's the thing. I don't want to. I never want to question how badass people can be, but like Klingons are like battle hardened, right? Like they kick ass. Like,
and you get a little bit of it when
a couple, but like
this is again
a dozen at one. Like, come on.
This is again another reason why you should have maybe thrown a couple of like human being Federation guys in there.
For sure. Yeah.
And we get a little bit of that when Chapel like throws a punch at someone and it hurts her hand because the drug is wearing off. And I'm like, okay, well, that at least we're getting that, but that's the only time it happens.
Yeah.
And I would have liked more kind of a struggle there, because it borderlines on the ridiculous. It doesn't quite get there, but it does straddle the line.
There was a point where she says, like, you got any more of that juice, doc? And I thought, oh my God, please, no more. No, I thought another round was going to happen. So thankfully they did stop it.
So because we're talking about that sequence, I also need to bring up, because I'm who I am, when we get to the sickbay on this false Federation ship, I looked at that sickbay and I was like, oh, that's Discovery's sickbay. So they're reusing the set. It's a Star Trek show. They reuse the set. Sure. And I didn't. And then as the scene kept going, I was like, oh, this is just Discovery's set. They just used Discovery's interior set all over. Holy shit.
Smart.
And it was so fun. It was so funny because, and this isn't a criticism, Star Trek reuses sets all the time. I was watching this and I was like, oh, I remember when that character died over there. Oh, I remember when that happened over there. Like, it kept reminding me. I got like flashes of scenes from Star Trek Discovery.
Sure.
It was fun.
The architects of those particular starships were lazy that week.
Yeah. Oh, but like, it makes sense actually, because, and this is not something you guys would know, they say it's a Crossfield class ship. Mm-hmm. That's Discovery. Discovery is a Crossfield class ship.
Okay, there you go.
So that's why it is, and it kind of goes back to in the first season when they go to the it's not a Constitution class, but it looks like a Constitution class, but that's why it kind of explains the same interior use. It's not something they needed to do because they just need a new set. But I do appreciate that they do kind of have this idea where, like, if you're into this, if you're into new Star Trek, what she says is it's a Crossfield class, I think. And what that means is, and it's the saucer section of what the Discovery class ship is, because you can tell it's got the gap in the middle of the saucer, and then the rest of it is cobbled together from another ship. So it's very much a bastardization of a Federation starship. It's very much like we put this together with what we had. And that's why she says, I think. So I did actually really, really like that. It is a cool looking ship just in general.
Before they nuke it.
Yeah.
Which one do I want to say next? I really like that we get so quickly to follow up on the La'an with the finding the girl's parents story, and just like wrap that up.
I like her a lot.
I thought that was good because I really like La'an. Yeah,
she got the spice.
Yeah, I'm glad that she came back. I really appreciate that. I mean, look, it's a episodic TV show more than a serialized TV show, and so I don't think keeping your cast of characters off screen for so long really works. And I'm glad that La'an is able to come back so quickly, because I would miss her had she been gone longer.
I agree, because she's one of my favorites. Also, she comes back in a very Marion style of out drinking a big man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. I thought about that too.
Yeah, I always like that trope. They're drinking Klingon blood wine, which I guess now has blood in it.
Makes sense. Doesn't have to be human. Doesn't have to be human. There's animals.
I'm into that. Whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
Hey, no shade on the Klingon blood wine.
Spock gets some too. He gets seconds. This is a very Vulcan.
I mean, it's very Christian of them, isn't it?
Ooh.
I mean, Jesus' blood is wine. So they're cutting out the middle metaphor.
It's true.
Yeah, that's true. They did it.
Spock's like, yes, my Klingon brothers, have you heard the word of Jesus Christ?
The fight between the false Federation ship and the Enterprise is really cool. Zipping and zagging between the
crystal ice.
There's a point even before he fires on the ship where, like, proximity to the Klingon ship, I'm just like, bro, they know that you're there.
Yeah,
like,
they know.
They're not looking.
Well, they charge their gun. They charge their gun just before he shoots, and you're like, yeah, they know.
Yeah. I just thought it was a little bit. I didn't mind the back and forthing of, like, Mbenga and Chapel and, like, how they're going to survive, what they're going to do, and Spock's hesitancy to destroy the ship.
Yeah.
I didn't mind that. However, I didn't know what Spock was waiting for.
Mm.
See, like, I wouldn't mind it if Spock knew that they were like working on a way out, and he was like giving them as long of a chance as he possibly could. But I'm like, what were you waiting for? You don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah. I do agree. I guess maybe he was waiting for maybe a communication from them.
Yeah,
like,
just
a word,
drawn it out for hope's sake. But I'm like, we really rose right up onto the line.
I think they wanted to make it as, like, dramatic as
no,
possible.
Absolutely. And I just think, like, I've seen it. Even in the small amount of Star Trek I've consumed, I've seen a better rendition of just, like, the captain knowing, like, there's a slim chance they're going to pull it off, so we got to leave them as much room as possible.
That's not communicated. Yeah. I feel
right. I do like Mbenga's line before they go out the airlock where Mbenga's like, this is going to suck. Like, I'm not sugarcoating this. I really appreciate that, because they're like, no, we'll be fine. There's a lot of, like, sci-fi tropes where we go out the airlock. It's like, it'll be fine. Mbenga's like, no, this is going to suck. If this doesn't work, we're dead.
Yeah, I like before that. Oh God, what does he say? We've been through much worse than this. And Chapel's like, no, we have not. No, we're gonna die. And then she's like, no, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm not gonna bullshit a bullshitter.
Yeah, I like putting them together. I think they've got good chemistry. I really like how do you pronounce? Do you guys know how to pronounce the actor's name?
I don't even know
Mbenga's character.
Look it up for you.
I always have a hard time pronouncing his last name, but I like him a lot, and I'm glad he's in Mbenga.
I'm gonna try my best. His name is Babs Olusan Moken.
Yeah, sure.
That's how I would.
He's a cool dude, man. I love, again, this whole cast. Like, I would say everybody's my favorite, honestly. Like
he's in Dune.
He's what?
He's in Dune.
He's in Dune.
Oh yeah.
He's one of the Araki.
Yeah, I forgot about that for a minute.
Part 2, November.
Let's see. Chief Kyle's gone. R.I.P. Chief Kyle.
R.I.P.
Remind me. I know it. I just watched it, but Chief Kyle.
on the internet, he is called Transporter Twink.
Got it.
He's the transporter.
No, I got it now.
I have a different person.
But it's Chief J, the actor who played Kyle, left to pursue other things.
Jay's real young looking.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I want to see. So on this one, we get a new style of Klingon, which is different than what we had in Discovery, and very different, and a little bit different than what we've had before. I like the idea that there are different types of Klingon people, different subsects of the Klingon culture. I would like to see, because I know that they've said they're not going to do anything with the Discovery Klingons, which is fine. I would like to see TOS Klingons show up without the head ridges, kind of being like, because there's a possibility that we could see a Klingon from the original series And if we do, I'd like them to not have the head ridges, because that would, I think, be a nice bit of continuity, keeping the continuity of Star Trek Enterprise and Star Trek the original series. Well, not all Klingons still have the head ridges. This one specifically doesn't.
Yeah,
I'd like to see
humans.
that.
Humans, we all look different. Like there could be different
We
subcategories.
We are a terrible example.
No, I know. No,
I know. You're just like gesturing. It's like we all look different.
I meant that we're not as a society.
I know. I understand. It's just funny.
I'll get a tan next. Don't worry.
Because we can actually headcanon it in the sense that like the Klingons, this is going to be really nerdy, so you guys can check out it for a minute if you want. If the Klingons wanted to, if you wanted to headcanon it, then it could be like, oh, the disease that wiped away their head ridges in Star Trek Enterprise is wearing off by the time we get to the original series. So only a few Klingons don't have their head ridges, not all.
I'm sure there's some Dave Filoni-esque guy over at Star Trek thinking that exact thing up right now.
Unfortunately, it's Alex Kurtzman.
Yeah. But hey, Akiva Goldsman's name's all over this thing, and he's doing great work. So
I know there's always the possibility that someone can surprise you. Like I said, like Akiva Goldsman is not a writer I particularly enjoyed prior to this, but I think he's killing it on the show.
I think I don't know if he's directed some too. I want to say at least maybe the first season, but like he's doing. I'm enjoying it. Good stuff.
Yeah.
They're not in the episode very much, but we talked about it. But like Pike and the number one. Like they're off gonna he's gonna go off. Guys, I want to be honest. There's only one character that I'm not totally in love with, and it's Una. Yeah. I think she's kind of just like everybody else has like a distinct like personality, like quirk or like trait, and she's just kind of like the boring mom of the Enterprise. And I just I need her to do more than just be like, I'm a robot, I guess.
Sure.
Because I'm probably alone on that, which is fine. But like everyone else, I get real character, and I'm just getting kind of just vague. Like I'm a person. I'm a person who's here. I'm not a robot. Am I a robot? Yeah,
I don't think I disagree with that, honestly. I think
not she's bad. Just there's nothing more to her.
I think for me, as far as the main cast goes, she is probably my least favorite. But that's not to say, and as Ryan just tried to just articulate, it's not to say that she's a bad character, because I do like her. It's just as far as the cast of characters are, she would be at the bottom, which is wild for me to say, because there's characters in here that that shouldn't work, but they do because they've got so much charisma. And I do wonder if maybe it's because Rebecca Romaine. Look, this is no slight on her, but she's not the greatest actress.
Sure.
She very much has a kind of style where she is this kind of macho, take no nonsense, kind of butch female character, and it works for her. It works for her. She's kind of the same character in The Librarians, but I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't disagree. This is a long-winded way of me saying I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying.
What I will say, and I understand that these things shouldn't necessarily completely be held in conversation with each other, but if you are a person who watches the Orville, I don't feel like anyone else on this show is a shadow or living under a better guise of someone that's on the Orville, except for her, who I feel like is living in the shadow of Adrian Palicki, who is basically her character better on the Orville. And I don't feel like anyone else is suffering from that, but because I watched the Orville, I'm kind of but Adrian Palicki is basically the same person but better.
Yeah. I really love Adrian.
That is
Palicki.
A very good comparison, yeah.
I mean, and because they are meant to be Pike and Una. They do play it as the mom and the dad of the Enterprise,
right?
And very much the same thing on the Orville. I agree with that. I think, yeah, I agree with that. There's nothing more to add.
I think it's just one of those things where it's hard not to compare those two when literally everybody else we've talked about on Strange New Worlds feels so distinctively different from any of their character comparisons on the Orville. But those two feel like they're crafted in the exact same mold, and just one of them's getting better material to work with too. That's part of it on the Orville. But
do you think that Una's plot will be a big part of the season?
I'm hoping because I think that's going to open her up.
Yeah, that's because I don't want them to just throw her away or anything, because that's what it kind of felt like. But if Pike's going to do something, then I think that's not. I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I'm sure I honestly think it'll be resolved in the next episode.
Sure.
As far as she'll be allowed to go back to the Enterprise, because I don't think you're getting rid of that character.
Yeah.
I think the most interested I ever was in her character was when it was revealed that she was an Illyrian. I really like that episode, and I really like her in that episode. She was allowed to shine a little bit more, and I'd like to see that continue. So there's an interesting thing happening in current Star Trek, and it's not necessarily weird that it's happening in Strange New Worlds, but it is weird. Honestly, it is weird because we know that this doesn't. So in the Federation, it's illegal to be augmented because of the eugenics wars in the 90s. And it was a whole thing. And for 400 years and counting, it is illegal to have any sort of augmentation in the Federation. And to do this idea of Una being augmented and having La'an be a descendant of a very famous augment, Khan Noonien Singh. It's weird that we're doing this here because we know that in the future of Star Trek, the future of where this show is set, nothing really comes from this. This doesn't change the rules on augments. This doesn't really change anything. It will only affect Una's story and not the Federation as a whole.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that they're choosing to go in that direction.
Can it affect Illyrians in the future?
We don't know. We don't see Illyrians in the future.
So that's what I'm thinking, is that this, like, where this is really gonna, and this is like kind of what we were talking about with the Mbenga thing, like that also in this episode kind of being like a type of augmentation. And like, where could that ride? And like, I think it is going to be about Federation kind of drawing lines, like, because what we kind of had got from the first season, right? It's been a bit, is that her species augmentation is like a part of their existence.
It's just as far as
it's a part of how they live. It's a part of like their religion, right? And so I think it's going to bring into a debate of like, can Federation rule against something that is so inherently
part of your body,
part of like who they are, like kind of like no weapons mastering kind of thing if Mandalorians existed here, right? Well, like, you can't say that, they're Mandalorians.
That's all they do.
That's their thing. That is their religion. Like, so same deal. And I feel like that's maybe the point, is to put a species at the center of that conversation, because it puts into light, like, where does Federation draw those lines, and like having to make an exception of like, well, when it's part of who you are.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Because the only time we ever saw an Illyrian, they were introduced in Star Trek Enterprise. The species was introduced there, so we've never seen them in any further than this point. So it could be exactly what you're saying, Sparkz, that these species, because it is part of their species that they augment, and it is proven that it doesn't create homicidal murderers, then they could just make the exception for the species. And I think even in that episode, where it's revealed that Una's an Illyrian, is that the Illyrians did try to join the Federation, but were turned away because they were augmented.
Right. And I think that's maybe the point of putting Una at the center of this, is to reopen that discussion in a way where, like, you could just tackle, like, how does the Federation embrace people who want to be part of it, but they maybe necessarily are like drawing lines that are arbitrary and are not taking an individual into an account.
Now, there is something to be said for what you're saying, because in Star Trek Prodigy, and this is something like all throughout Star Trek, the modern Star Trek era, Star Trek Picard Season 2, Strange New Worlds, Star Trek Prodigy, they've been dealing with the idea of augmentation and how the Federation's ideals towards it are outdated, and they have been for a very, very long time. And Star Trek Prodigy deals with it by it's having its main character be an augment. They didn't know they were augmented, but they were created in a lab and they were augmented. And the Federation was going to turn them away, but because they saved, spoilers for Star Trek Prodigy, but because they saved the Federation, they were allowed to join Starfleet not temporarily. What does it mean when you're like, where you join something, but you didn't quite get like a rank yet. You're just kind of,
you are not a Jedi Master yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like,
something like that.
You're on probation.
probationarily, something like that. Yeah. So
it basically means like
trial.
I think
trial
in context,
period.
yeah, it's like a trial period, and like if you get through, then like we'll grant you actual rank inside, but like you're being watched very closely.
Yeah, and so Prodigy takes place in the late 23rd century, and this is the mid 22nd century. So, nope. This is the mid 23rd century. That takes place in the late 24th century. So we know that. I know.
I don't know what Brandon, this takes place in the future. That's all. Like
this takes place in the year 2260 something. Excuse me.
2260 something.
And Prodigy takes place in 2386. No, 2384. No, 2386. Doesn't matter. And so there's 100 years between this and Prodigy, and so that's kind of where I was kind of getting at, of like there is a sense that maybe Prodigy used what happens to Una. Maybe what happens to Una could give what happens in Prodigy kind of that the precedent, right? And of course, love precedent. We've done this before, so we can do it again. Yeah, maybe it does. Maybe it does that.
I think it would be the interesting story angle to pursue is this idea of Starfleet being, brought up against an entire, like, you are disqualifying something that is inherently part of who these people are. Like, is that really your right to say no about in this case? And so I do think that's probably part of the point of it. I'd be kind of shocked if it wasn't.
Yeah, because the Federation is so scared of another Khan Noonien Singh that they just outright banned. They banned augmentation. What's so strange about the ban on augmentation is that it was banned before the formation of the Federation, and it carried into the formation of the Federation, which Earth, yes, was part of bringing all those species, to the Tellarites, the Andorians, the Vulcans together to make the Federation. But it's strange to me that it's always kind of, in hindsight, strange to me that Earth was like, hey, before we sign this charter, we need to all kind of agree that what happened on Earth can never happen out there. And none of the species were like, we never did that. We never created a homicidal augmented maniac. Why should we have this rule?
Right.
Because humans made Star Trek. That's why.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't be shocked if we are looking at something where Una gets like the exact same kind of thing, like a probationary period, right? But the point and the goal of her succeeding is to allow all of Illyria to be part of the Federation.
Right. And
I also wanted to note that, like, because we were talking about it, I do like when Una is specifically tied with La'an.
Yeah,
I think that's when Rebecca Romaine has the best stuff.
That is because they were having fun doing fun stuff together.
The cadet stuff. Yeah, when they were hunting them down.
That was good stuff.
That's a good episode.
Yep.
I'm fun. Yeah, we're fun.
Yeah, I love stern badass chicks getting to unwind.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, just a quick note. I like their covert outfits on the planet. I think they look good. Something I think that all modern Star Trek has done is their what's it called? Casual wear has just been top notch.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%.
One of my favorite things about Spock having to come back to Starfleet after he stole the Enterprise and everything is him being hungover when he did it.
Oh yeah,
love it.
Can you lower your voice, Admiral?
Are you hungover, Spock?
That's your punishment.
I like the implication that I do like Admiral April, and some people have brought this up that so stealing the Enterprise is not new in the franchise. This happened in Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock. Kirk and the crew stole the Enterprise to go save Spock,
to search for him,
and they but they got severely punished. Well, they were meant to, and then they saved the world. And then Kirk just got a demotion. But here, Spock just kind of gets a slap on the wrist and nothing else. And I do like the explanation that the other admiral who's with April says, why'd you let Spock off easy? And he's like, he doesn't know it, but he just stopped another war. And we can't really fight two wars right now.
Word.
Yeah. Gorn approaching.
And I do like that. And I like that reveal of like, it's not necessarily that Spock got off easy. It's that Spock got lucky that there is an imminent threat with the Gorn happening.
I don't even think it's just that. I think it's that Spock was right. And it's like, well, we can't admit that Spock was right, though.
Yeah.
We destroy it. Yeah, I do.
Starfleet regulations and everything. We can't do that.
I do really. It is it is a tropey thing of pitting like a fake war to for war profiteering, all that stuff. I really like the idea of like them like repurposing Starfleet stuff and like making a starship to go attack their own vessel to make it seem like they're attacking the Klingons. Like that's a really like ingenious idea, and like luckily Enterprise got stolen and had to go check out their homie. Like, oh well, we're happy to be here.
Yeah, it's really crafty when like you're part of a third party and you're trying to make two nations go against each other. It's a good story idea. More people should take it.
That's something I'm sure we'll talk about in a different Fake Nerds Watch episode.
What will we? Maybe.
Who knows?
No, I do think it's really cool. Like I think that like I do think that the idea of what I like about it is that like, obviously on that other show we're going to talk about like there's a whole other purpose to it, but here it gets down to the nitty-gritty and says like, yeah, profits suck during peacetime.
Yeah.
Like profits are better in war because it's very real.
That's the entire plot of Metal Gear Solid 4, baby.
That's the entire plot of America.
Yeah.
Is profits are better in war.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that they're tackling that so directly and that they said it so frankly. And like, yeah, the whole reason they're doing it is because like they make more money if they're fighting.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I like about The Last Jedi so much. When they're talking about like peacetime, you don't make much money during peacetime, but during war, very profitable. And so
yeah, I like that. I like that too. I just, I wish anybody else would pick up that frickin' baton from Johnson on that one.
Oh,
I mean, Andor kind of has.
No, yeah. We're going to Canto Bight in that Star Wars Outlaws game, so that's exciting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like much like you, Sparkz. I do really like that they kind of like boil it down to like the only reason why they want to ignite the war between the Klingons and the Federation again is for profit. Because there is no profit. I mean, to be fair, there's no profit in the Federation. There's no money in the Federation.
No money.
So
they don't care about money.
But they need it when wartime happens because they need dilithium. Dilithium is a very important resource. It's the only thing that makes starships go to warp. Without it, they're stranded.
And this is just one planet where you get dilithium from. Like,
yeah,
there's others.
Place.
Yeah,
this is a really rich dilithium planet.
Sure.
But there are other dilithium mines out there in the galaxy.
I love because again, I watched season 1 like yesterday. That episode 10 has that Romulan commander who hates war, like unending war, and then you have like this commander who's like he's reasonable. He has a talk and then he has a beer with Spock at the end. I'm like, I love it. I love that these people can like break the stereotypes that that's what Star Trek is so good at. You have like these people and they're all based in their stereotypes, but real people can break free of those things and like the expectations of other people and all that stuff. And it's really cool.
You said it really well. Something that in my brain I was trying to circle around to, which is the fact that we are seeing just as much as Spock is saying like Starfleet regulations in this case are not correct. And like we shouldn't be listening to them. They don't have the full picture. They don't know what they're saying. Or we could say the same thing about the Una situation. They're not looking at the full picture. They're not looking at the individual. It is cool that you also, while unfortunately I think we were too heavily featuring just the Klingons and the crime syndicate stuff,
yes,
and not enough humans, it is cool that you then get a Klingon who's like, if you come to me face to face and you tell me and we share a drink over some blood wine, then cool. We cool. Like I believe you. We're good. Like I will take you at your word.
That dude wants to clock out at 5 and have a beer.
So it's very Star Trek, as Ryan said. Like one of the things that Star Trek is really good at. I mean, going back to Equality of Mercy. Sorry, I get the two titles. So Equality of Mercy is riffing off of, we talked about last season, is riffing off of the episode of Balance of Terror. It's the exact same episode except Pike is there instead of Kirk. And Ryan, if you haven't watched the Balance of Terror recently, you should, because they pair so nicely together.
I shall.
And that's where we get the Romulan commander who doesn't want war. He doesn't want to go to war again. War is timely. War costs people's lives. And that's what's so interesting about Star Trek is Star Trek is always very clear about its stance on war, that war is not good. War sucks. You lose people's lives get lost in war. And Benga says it here, hundreds of millions of lives lost for what? A parsec of space? 2 parsecs of space? What's the point? In Star Trek The Next Generation, another Romulan commander wants to defect from Romulus because Romulus is gearing up for another war with the Federation, and he's like, I don't want that. I don't want to go to war. War sucks.
Mm-hmm.
The Cardassians learned that lesson the hard way, and during the Dominion War and Deep Space Nine. So war being this kind of thing to be avoided at all costs has always been in the fabric of Star Trek, and I'm glad that Strange New Worlds took that baton and created this idea that even a Klingon commander who is bred for war is like, I don't want war.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to war again. That sucked. Have a drink with me. We'll figure this out together.
Yeah. I am really glad that Kim, Chloe, and Courtney learned that lesson.
I swear to God, Sparkz. I in my brain, I made a Kardashian joke, but I'm like, I'm not going to do it here. And you did it for me.
I've done it before.
Thank you. All right, cool.
They have come up before, and like it was the first time I heard it because I think you and Cookie were like saying something, and I'm like, excuse me, what do the Kardashians have to do with Star Trek?
Kardashians.
Yeah. You can say it all you want. Like pop culture's ruined it.
Keeping up with the Cardassians.
They're gray lizard people with spoons on their heads.
Hey, don't talk about Kim that way.
Oh man. I really appreciate Star Trek's stance on war just in general. It really formed my own opinions on war watching Star Trek at a young age, and to see that continue on to the modern age is very good. Very nice.
I will say, like, I don't know. I didn't look it up, and I don't know who played that Klingon captain that drinks with Spock at the end. But whoever he is, he either already has played Scar on Broadway, or he better, because I swear I've seen him play Scar on Broadway. I was like, man, I'm vibing like a heavy Scar from the Lion King energy out of you, my guy. I really liked him. That's my point.
So Commander Pelia, Carol Kane's character, mentions that she knows Spock's mother, Amanda. And that's really interesting.
Winona
Ryder's character from Star Trek 09, yeah. Because she says that she was one of the first people I came out to when as a Lanthanite. And I'm so interested to see if that's going to pay off. Are we going to see Amanda Grayson in this season? That'd be so interesting. Because we haven't seen Spock's parents yet.
It would be kind of cool to see Winona Ryder come back.
It would be the actress who played her in Star Trek Discovery.
I think his name's Andrew Jackson. Is that the guy? Does that look like this face?
I don't know. Hard to tell. That is a white man.
I know.
Because we've met Spock's parents in Star Trek Discovery. They have not crossed over to Strange New Worlds yet.
Oh, okay. I see. Womp womp.
So I'm sure. I hope we see Amanda Grayson in this season.
Yeah, I feel like if we've seen them in Discovery, then it's very likely.
I don't want to see Sarek, though. I think it's important not to see Sarek, Spock's dad, because of where we meet him in the original series.
If you say so.
Also, I mean, yeah, this is something that you guys aren't going to really relate to, but I don't like the actor who plays Sarek in Discovery. I think he's, frankly, bad. I don't think he's a very good Vulcan or Sarek.
Sure.
All the more reason to put him in Strange New Worlds and make him better.
But I guess it could be the writing, but there's a specific way to play Vulcans that Discovery always struggled with until more recently. And someone said it very well. Actually, Jason Inman said this really well on the Word Balloon podcast. I'll never forget this. He said there are people when you watch people play Vulcans, there's two camps. There's the camp that knows who clocked how Leonard Nimoy was playing Spock and who didn't. People who know that Leonard Nimoy did not play Spock without emotions. He played Spock as someone who is withholding his emotions, keeping his emotions suppressed, keeping them in check. But people who don't understand that think that Spock that Leonard Nimoy played Spock without emotions. And I think that's when you get bad Vulcans, is when you just get the Vulcans who are just emotionless and stone-faced, and there's really nothing there. And it's important when you play a Vulcan to have that emotion, I think.
Aren't most Vulcans supposed to be not suppressing emotions, just not feeling them at all?
No, they're always suppressing. It's always been a case. So Spock's emotions are more out of check because he's half human.
But there like a thing that happens to them?
Yeah, Ponfar. Every 7 years. Ponfar.
I could have just sworn in season 1 they say something like, "Oh yeah, I haven't had a thing where that like eliminates my."
Oh,
emotions."
Kolinar. The Kolinar. Yes, so there's the Kolinar that purges all emotions. Not every Vulcan goes through it, I believe. But it's still a sense of Vulcans have always been canon that Vulcans feel emotions far stronger than humans. Their emotions are far more ravage than humans' emotions, which is why they searched logic during their dark ages. And I think, and so like Spock is always kind of on the verge of breaking down because his emotions are clouded by also being human. Whereas everyone else, all the good Vulcans anyway, I should say, always play it as they have emotions, but they're not showing them. They're suppressing them. They're hiding them. They're not devoid of it. And that's what I want to see more of.
Sure. I mean, like in a performance level, I completely agree with you. Like I get what you're saying. I just, as a species, I wanted clarification.
Yeah.
I think you're right about like, in general saying we're in Spock's rebellious phase. This is very much his like he's in his Shinji time.
Oh jeez.
Too many emotions.
Now we have to bring his family into it now.
Did you see the trailer for the rest of the season? They put like this season on Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
I did not watch it.
Negative.
Then I will not tell you some of the cool stuff that I saw in that.
Do not tell me because I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, I think that's everything I've got. I don't really have much more. No, any more. Yeah, I'm done.
No, I think we talked a good bit about a solid episode.
Longer than the episode. Absolutely.
Very sweet that the episode is dedicated to Nichelle Nichols.
Oh yeah.
That was really sweet. Yeah. Lovely, great first episode. Happy to be back after a whole 16 hours. Sorry guys, it took you a year.
Well, I'm happy you're here. I'm glad you enjoyed the show. I'm glad you watched the show. I'm looking forward to continuing to discuss and dissect this season for the next 9 weeks.
What did you think of Kirk in the last season? Just super quick.
I wasn't crazy about Paul Wesley as Kirk.
I kind of wasn't either, and I was really excited that Kirk was on the show. And like, I don't know what it was, but like, I totally didn't love his vibe.
He didn't have the it. He didn't have whatever Shatner had. He didn't have it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's a great actor, 100%. But yeah, whatever it is, he didn't have it. I don't know what it is.
I'm hoping that changes.
Did you like Kirk?
Yes, I did, but I've spent
no time,
less than an hour with.
No, I feel you.
Shatner's Kirk. So
can I just say?
That's fair.
Can I just say real quickly, because of your background, it looked like you actually just put whatever. Was that a jacket?
Yes.
It looked like you put it on the seat behind you.
Oh yes. Hold this in. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Paul Wesley again in this season because I do wonder if maybe the idea of playing Kirk as someone who never got the Enterprise, never got command of the Enterprise, had a completely different command trajectory, was a deliberate choice to play the character differently. And when we see the younger Kirk, will we see more of the Shatner?
Yeah, I really wonder because like is he coming back? Is that confirmed? I don't remember.
Right, because when we see him, he's like from a different. I forgot. It's been a bit. He's not like in main timeline, right?
Yeah, he's in a different time. He's in the timeline where Captain Pike never had the accident.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I can totally buy that is not necessarily like who he's going to be when we see like actual Kirk. That like there was a shift in who that character is just by proxy of like it being an alternate. Like I don't think he played it. I don't think the actor went in and played it as though this is exactly who Kirk is, regardless of which path and timeline this is. I think it is altered.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I had to remind myself. Thank you for bringing that up because I was like, I remember not having a problem with it at all. And I do think that was part of my context as, but like I'm going off Chris Pine, so like,
yeah.
We didn't see Sam at all this episode.
Oh yeah, his brother with the mustache.
I mean, he appears and disappears.
I hope we see him again. So one of the things that I really like about that episode of Quality of Mercy, is that we for the first time ever get to see a living Sam Kirk and James Kirk together.
Yeah.
That was cool because in the first time we meet Sam Kirk, he's dead. So
Rip. Well, no, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, that's a good episode. Man, the first episode of that season when there's just like his Lieutenant Kirk coming up. Yeah, send Lieutenant Kirk up and it's Sam. I'm like, oh shit.
Good. It's a good fake out.
It is a good fake out. Yeah.
My mom fell for it hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, she watched the first episode of Strange New Worlds. That's all she's watched so far. But
Nice.
like they were doing the like whole like Lieutenant Kirk's heading up to the bridge just as you requested, and she was like, they got Kirk in this from episode 1, and then she was like, that's kind of surprising, and I was like, well, just wait. Sam Kirk, and she's like, who is Sam Kirk? And I'm like, you watch Star Trek.
That actually reminds me of something really funny. This is a complete tangent, so if anyone doesn't want to listen to the rest of this episode, go right ahead. But I was watching The Adventures of Young Indiana Jones, and there's an episode where 10-year-old Indiana has hay fever, and he's like, it's looking like the kid's gonna die, and because they can't get to a doctor in time. And he's laying there, and his mother's caressing him, and his mother is trying to protect him, trying to like, find a way to make him feel better. And Indiana looks up and he goes, is this how Susie felt? And I was like, oh, who's Susie? And the mom goes, no, your sister died when she was very young. And I was like, hang the fuck on. What the hell? When did this never once mentioned prior to that episode? Never once mentioned after that episode. Yep. It was, she has a Wikipedia page that just says mentioned in the one episode. And I'm like,
hey,
wait,
Obi-Wan has a brother. He thinks he had a brother. He doesn't know how old he was.
But like, man, it was a wild moment where I was like, I guess Indiana had a sister.
Everyone's got a secret relative until they don't.
All right. Anyway, that'll do it.
Love it.
Okay. So, guys, oh, this is so weird because normally this is where I tell my guest host to plug their stuff, but we all have the same stuff.
It's true.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me on this, and I can't wait to do another one. I love talking about Star Trek, and I'm glad Strange New Worlds is back. And I'm excited to continue to explore Strange New Worlds.
It's nice to be talking about a great Fake Nerds Watch show.
Yeah.
That's
all for the future. Speaking of the future, Fake Nerds Watch will also continue over with Ben with a Secret Invasion. So if anyone is interested in catching our discussions on Secret Invasion, stay tuned for that, for when that drops. But of course, you can find more Fake Nerds Watch Star Trek if you'd like on this feed. We've talked about, I've talked about most of episodes that have aired so far. So please check those out if you'd like, and they're all on the audio feed.
If you want to go back in time to like 7 years ago when I first joined the podcast, Brandon and I don't know if Ben did it, but we watched and talked about some Star Trek stuff as well, like 7 years ago.
Ben did do that. We talked about we did 5 Star Trek movies in the lead up to the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, which is Star Trek Beyond.
It's true.
I listened to all those episodes.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Okay. No context.
We gave you context.
Maybe that'll maybe we'll give you the context finally. All right, so that'll do it, guys. Of course, there's plenty more shows on this channel. If you like this video, subscribe to this channel. You can check out such shows as Fake Nerd Podcast. Fake Nerd Podcast is our mothership show where all the shows come from. Fake Nerd Podcast goes live every Sundays. Please join us if you'd like, where we talk about all sorts of movies and comic book news and TV show news and things like that. We're reviewing. Here we're talking about Mission Impossible 2, 3, and 4 this coming weekend in the lead up to Star Trek. Lead up to Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
How funny would it be, Brandon, if we watched all the Mission Impossible movies to watch the next Star Trek movie? That's not even
okay. But like Star Trek 4 needs to come out. And
true.
Tom Cruise should be a captain of another ship.
Hell yeah.
I'd watch it. I mean, I'd watch it anyway, but I'd double watch it then.
Yeah.
So, and then after that, we'll be doing Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So stay tuned for just those couple episodes. Previously, we talked about The Flash. If you're interested in our thoughts on The Flash, you can find that on an episode or its own Cinephiles. It is in the Cinephiles right now. There are other shows you can check out, such as Basement Arcade and Basement Arcade Pause Menu. Summer Games Fest for Basement Arcade Pause Menu was a recent episode you guys did.
Yes, and Ben has a new episode coming out this Friday about gaming remasters.
Woo! There you go. And the Animation Station Fake Nerd Book Club. Oh, Star Trek Fake Nerd Book Club is coming. I've recorded the first episode of that, so stay tuned. I'm excited for that. That's with Travis Alexander from Kaiju Ramen Media.
Nice. Miscellaneous.
Do you want to?
I mean,
He said it.
It's coming out this week.
Miscellaneous. Miscellaneous is back. If you don't know what Miscellaneous is, that's fair. It's been a while. Miscellaneous is our mythology-based podcast where we talk about certain mythological stories. However, this time we are going to be talking about the various MacGuffins that plague Indiana Jones's life. The 5 of all 5 films. So I will be talking about the Dial of Destiny after the movie is out. The first episode, we talked about the Ark of the Covenant, kind of going through the real life stories, the mythological stories that inspired Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. That episode's coming soon. Stay tuned. I'm very excited about that.
Nice.
And the real score. The real score is coming. Mask of Zorro new episode. And we got a couple of episodes in the can.
Yep.
So stay tuned for that. Yeah. So all sorts of shows. Oh, Conversation, guys. You can check out Conversation. That's my audio-only podcast where I talk to podcasters about their fandoms. My most recent episode with Ken Knapsack is up right now to talk about Indiana Jones. If you haven't noticed, there's a lot of Indiana Jones happening on the podcast network right now, and I'm excited about it. And that'll do it. Of course, you can check out our TeePublic or our Patreon if you'd like to support us financially, or on our website at fakenerdpodcast.com. Brand new website. It's up now. You can check out all sorts of everything that I've said. It's on that website. Please check it out. Fake Nerd Podcast on all the social medias. fakenerdguys@gmail.com. I'm at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. I also write for CBR.com, AtomicGeekdom.com, and KaijuRamenMedia.com, where I'm also their editor. Sparkz, where can people find you?
You can find me wanting the ship to go now at Sparkz Witty on Instagram, Twitter, SPARKZ Witty.
And Ryan?
You can find me setting my phasers to fun at DJ Tony Snark 616.
All right, guys. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to the audio feed if you'd like. And until next time you see us, live long and prosper.